Today, we'll be sharing some very big news stories. First, Tesla's Giga Berlin has been approved for expansion of its existing factory site. They'll now be able to double production of 500,000 vehicles to 1 million cars per year. Second, unfortunately, battery maker SK is in really big trouble and is declaring an emergency after sales of electric vehicle sales disappoint. This is the main battery supplier to Ford and Volkswagen. Third, for the first time ever, the Cybertruck is now the number one best-selling electric pickup truck, outselling the Ford F-150. And fourth, there are rumors that Tesla has stopped talking to India, and they're no longer hopeful for a gigafactory there. And finally, full self-driving version 12.4.3 is now being released widely to many customers. We're going to show you many different video clips to share. I've got Jeff Lutz joining us. Jeff is an ex-chief quality officer and ex-executive for supply chain for multiple Fortune 100 companies. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Yeah, great to be with you, Herbert. Let's get through these.
Let's get through this. Many stories. I love it when we go through many stories and get your feedback in each one of them. That's quite very useful. This is a big one. Alexander Merch shared this, that Giga Berlin has been approved the expansion of Giga Berlin. The authorities have allowed them to expand the plant. This is the expansion of production in the existing factory site without the clearing of the forest. This is not about the planned expansion of the site to build a freight station that has a company that had a protest there. So Tesla wants to double the planned production of 500,000 cars to 1 million. Most recently, around 300 cars were reached. So that is the story there. What's your thought that finally got approved?
25K vehicle and and potentially Robotaxi. I think they're going to want to regionalize, localize production of Robotaxis. I don't think they want Robotaxis going on boats all over the world. So, this timing aligns. It's, probably end of 25, being ready for scale in the first half of 26. So this is great news.
Okay. The next big news is battery makers, SK and LG. Fortunately, they're struggling. Let's talk quickly here about what?
Not great news here. Yeah.
Not great news. Yeah. So this is a big one because these battery makers are very critical, important. At the same time, we'll show you stats that the battery prices have fallen, which is great news. But at the same time, because these guys were expecting more sales, particularly from the European and American automakers. So this is SK. They're declaring an emergency. Oh my gosh, Jeff, maybe you've ever experienced that with one of your partners. So they're the supplier to Ford and Volkswagen, and they need to figure out whether or not this SK could be rescued by its parent, but its losses are mounting. So a leading South Korean producer of electric vehicle batteries declared itself in crisis as its customers struggle with disappointing EV sales in Europe and the US. They're the fourth largest EV battery maker behind Chinese companies like CATL and BYD and their rival LG, but both LG will report to you and SK are struggling. So SK has recorded losses for 10 consecutive quarters since it was spun off in 21. It's got huge debt. It's increased by fivefold. Losses are snowballing. So the chief executive officer announced a series of cost cutting and work practice, maybe a little too late, last Monday, describing them as a state of emergency management. We have our back against the wall. We should all pull together. Jeff, have you ever seen this before?
Yeah, there's a significant oversupply of cell capacity happening right now with batteries. And we may show a cost curve in a bit. What happened, so first off, they have issues. They have broader issues than just one thing. There's not one silver bullet for SK. There's multiple things. But they've entered into these agreements, with Ford and building out, major, capacity and agreements. And a lot of these things have fallen through and they've been delayed. The other thing is the technology that they're building versus, the LFP technology is taken off. And so they're off sides in multiple areas. So there's multiple things happening here. But when you have a company like Ford give you a demand signal for 2025, and then, come in and cut it by, maybe 70 or 80% or more, this has consequences for a company like SK. And again, there's more things happening than just, this Ford issue per se, but there's consequences to this. And then really BYD and CATL just flooding the market. We have the opposite of what was happening just a couple of years ago. Remember, Tesla kicked off the lithium refinery. There's a huge bottleneck of refined lithium, both in supply and in cost. And that's still the right defensive thing to do. I think it's important for Tesla to have a position at every stage of this supply chain, because these things are cyclical and they could tighten up again in the future, and they probably will. But for right now, cell supply is dramatically oversupplied. SK customers have decommitted to them. They gave them huge forecasts and they pulled back. Tesla, on the other hand, has been pretty stable. While they didn't have the growth this year that they would normally have in a given year, their demand signal stable. It's not being cut. It's not being, it's not falling off the map. And they're really setting their suppliers up for something pretty big, and later in 25 and then 26 and beyond. So this is the beginning. There's going to be more. I think we're going to hear from LG as well. This is not the end.
Okay, let's keep going here. So you got SK, right? They made a series of aggressive investments in US and Europe because there was a prediction of a boom. But of course, it kind of flattened out because of the economy. Has since announced extended layoffs, even in the US, in the plants that they have in the US, and they delayed this plant in Kentucky. Again, it's bad news, but if you look at what Tesla's doing, they're growing their plants for batteries and so forth. So the Chinese, let's compare it to the Chinese. So that is a South Korean company along with LK. Those two are South Korean. The Chinese producers, CATL and BYD, they dominate the battery industry with a combined market share of 53%. Their production sales are still concentrated in the domestic market, so they'll do just fine in China. And so here's the thing that could be benefiting the South Korean makers, LG and SK, is that Washington, the U.S. and Europe, they're seeking to prevent imports of China. And so that could give the opportunity for South Korean to capture the growth in Western markets. They benefit already from, the Inflation Reduction Act. So that's, they've been let down by the U.S. car makers. They failed because of that. So this is what happened to LG. Their profit fell 58% as well. So they're struggling. Their primary customers are General Motors and Tesla. So their profits have fallen, and their revenue's fallen. So this is in a moment when everybody's trying to create these cheaper cells, where they were trying to invest in these dry coating. Even Tesla was kind of like slowed down with that. So they were trying to do something future. Now here's the stats for all of batteries in general. Battery costs have plunged 90%. So in that, well, it's good news for EVs. It's for the battery makers. They were selling higher profits and all that. Now it's fallen in less than 15 years.
And here's why that's super important. When they were making cost of capital decisions back in 2022 for 2024, they thought that the cost per kilowatt hour was going to be X because of the oversupply situation. Which, by the way, the battery industry is part of that problem. Like it's incumbent upon you as a supplier to pressure test the demand signals coming in from your partners. And people think that that companies just put in orders and suppliers just go and blindly build to that. And the bad ones do. But in general, you're supposed to pressure test, understand the industry, understand where things are going, and not put your category in an oversupply state is what they're in right now. So not only do they have excess capacity, but their cost of capital assumptions and, quite frankly, what their revenue assumptions and margin assumptions are all eroding, with the cost per kilowatt hour going lower more quickly. And again, a lot of that is due to oversupply in that situation. So they're actually caught on multiple levels with excess capacity, but they're also caught with a unit economics problem as well. And so they have to solve for margins, and they have to solve for, honestly, keeping their business above water. So I think you're going to see some consolidation. I think LG is honestly going to be okay. They've got footing in a number of different other industries. And by the way, these companies serve multiple industries, but EV was taking up a tremendous amount of capacity. But I think LG will be okay. SK, I mean, we'll have to see. But I think you're going to see more of this happening, by the way. And there's going to be a little bit more of this upheaval until EVs start resurging again. But as EV growth resurges across the world, these same suppliers are going to be second guessing those demand signals from the likes of Ford and GM and others, because
You've been
look what
saying
it
this.
did to them
Yeah.
in this situation.
Yeah, you've been saying this for a long time. You know, it's like the company like Tesla is continuously buying in big volumes. You know, who's going to be first in line? Who's going to get the best? Because you can't trust.
This will
anymore.
put Tesla first in line for supply, and it will put them first in line for the best contractual terms. Remember, it's much more than pricing. You want the full set terms. So they're going to have the greatest amount of flexibility with their suppliers going forward, based on how they've run their supply chain and run their operation.
All right. Well, guess what? Cybertruck is now the number one best-selling electric vehicle pickup truck in America. It started in Q2. It just happened just second quarter. They're already outselling the Ford F-150 Lightning. Now, Ford's not doing terrible. They announced that they sold 23,957 electric vehicles in quarter, up 61% year over year. This is how it broke down: Mustang Mach-E, F-150 Lightning, E-Transit, total of 23,000. And then Ford said, with 44,000 total EVs sold for the first half of the year, Ford brand electric vehicles trail only Tesla. So they've been saying that quite a bit. The CEO, Jim Farley, we're only second to Tesla. Mustang Mach-E and F-150 Lightning are drawing customers from other brands. 62% of F-150 Lightning and 54% are new to Ford. So this is F-150. So Cybertruck is now number one. Did you expect that, Jeff?
I did. Actually, I think if we can rewind back some of the shows, I thought they would pass Rivian and Ford individually in this quarter, and then the second half they would pass them combined. So I see that happening. And by the way, LG is going to get that article showing Tesla's building the number one selling EV truck now in the country. Tesla suppliers are going to get that article. They're going to be excited about it. They're going to be jazzed because they know that growth is going to keep going, and it happened pretty rapidly under tremendous supply constraints. So this is great. This is great for Tesla. It's great for their supply base as well to see this. It gives them confidence when Tesla puts in a demand signal. They know that these things are selling through. Again, I keep preaching this over and over. The network latency, the low inventory. When Tesla orders stuff, it goes right through their factory. They build faster than anybody. It goes right through the factory quickly. It goes right. The channel is much smaller. The channel is physically smaller. There's no dealer network. It goes from factory direct to consumer. Suppliers love this because their cash converts quickly. They ship out material. Tesla pays them, on whatever payment terms they are. And then Tesla has to go back and reorder very quickly because they build so quickly in their factory, because their channel is so short in terms of number of days in physical size. So this whole thing is working, and it's working on the Cybertruck. And honestly, the Cybertruck's only at about 20 or 25% of its initial attendant capacity. So they're off to a good start.
Okay. So Giga India, the rumors are now that India doesn't expect Tesla to move forward anymore with an investment in the country. It's like on and off anytime soon anymore, after the executives of the company stopped contacting them. That's according to Bloomberg. So I don't know if that's true. What do you think, Jeff? Is that any kind of real story there?
No, they're negotiating. Things will appear in media. I believe honestly that there's a timing issue here. I don't think if you're Tesla, as long as the terms are right, you want access to over 1.2 or more billion people. You want access to that market. So, but you have time because your products are loved and needed elsewhere. You're trying to do these new product lines. You're busy. This takes Tesla's original employee base to bring up a new country, right? You're talking about design potentially manufacturing, distribution of vehicles, service, supercharger, software, setting up the network infrastructure. So this takes a lot of Tesla resources to do. So I'm sure there's been some momentary, reprioritization. This helps Tesla get stronger and actually, to me, get more leverage in this negotiation. Tesla isn't getting weaker; they're actually getting stronger. And if you're India, you want the number one innovator in EVs. You want that company. You want, Elon. You want his kind of brain power. So Tesla's getting stronger in this the longer this drags out, I believe.
So
but
big
it will
news.
happen.
Okay. Yeah, you still think it will happen? I think it'll have to happen. It's India. They will, but they delayed it. Okay, so big news was 12.4.3 full self-driving was released this weekend. Finally, it's been slowed and delayed, and Elon explained it, saying that as they had to retrain all the neural nets, they were able to make huge leaps in reducing interventions. But unfortunately, when they did that, they realized they have to keep teaching it the normal stuff, just normal driving. And so there was less that feeling that it's like as good as a human driving around. I myself tested it out and I was blown away by it. I was one of the first people that happened to get it. And it felt so good. I did not feel anytime somebody's behind me, I was not concerned, like embarrassed. It would take off nicely off a stop sign. It would drive slowly when it needed to drive slowly and fast when it needed to fast. So I thought it was great. So this is being released now. So it's not just employees and it's not just a handful. I think now I saw that at least 1% of customers are getting it, if not more. And some of the early responses are coming back. 12.4.3 is incredible. I just had 2 totally intervention-free, hands-free drives. It is so smooth. Hesitation is non-existent. Totally confident. I literally don't have a single complaint or criticism. Amazing work. So that's me. That's Brian. Others, of course, still are pointing out some issues. Here's an example. AI Driver does a great job. Check out his YouTube channel. 12.4.3 makes the smoothest U-turn I've seen yet. Wheel goes to full lock and stays there until turn is complete. So let's take a quick look at this. Yeah, so it's a U-turn. He does point out that the auto speed control needs some work. So let's take a look at that one. This is the part that I liked, actually. So I don't know what he's saying here. Let's see. I don't know. I kind of like it when it's a lot faster than the speed limit, dude. I really do. I love it when it's faster than the speed limit. I hate it when it stays the speed limit. It's like, if it's safe, drive faster if it's safe. I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think 5 or 7 over. I think people don't want to get potentially pulled over on FSD, but yeah.
I think not over 10, right? And this is where it did go over 10 over. But yeah. Okay, so all right. But here's one that I thought was really cool. Ignores nav route and the navigation route and finds better way to destination. This left turn is fairly new. So I love this. This is great. This is like very, very human-like. So it's going straight. It's supposed to turn left, but if you look at the navigation route, it's supposed to do a U-turn way down there. Now it goes, oh, no, there's a left turn here. I'm going to go ahead and do that, ignoring the navigation route. Have you seen something like this before, Jeff? What do you think about this?
I've seen it where it ignores it and goes the wrong way. Meaning it's fine from a legality perspective, but it took me on the wrong route. Very rare that happens, but I've seen that. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what's happening there. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But it's improving. Like we're on this improvement track. It's hard, we're individual drivers and we only drive so many miles. And so the interventions are growing, between miles. So it's really hard for us to honestly assess, is this 5 times better or not? But if you can crowdsource and get a bunch of information together, we could know that. But Tesla definitely knows this or not. Yeah. Yeah.
So here's a dirty Tesla. He often will tell you the way he sees it, both good and bad. Some examples of the erratic speed control when either accelerating from a stop or changing speed zones. There's not much consistency besides the fact speed is slightly unpredictable.
But hey, complete stop and a really nice takeoff.
Can you hear him?
All right. It was a really nice takeoff. But it's repairing.
Well, let's see if that's a continued pattern of like accelerating and then immediately deaccelerating.
All right. That all felt very nice. What do you think?
Pretty good. Pretty human-like.
Including this slowing after...
No, not that. I mean, depends on what kind of human you are, I guess.
All right, 51. Here's the 35. We begin slowing. Yeah, really nice.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Keep slowing. Keep slowing.
And speeds back up. Oh my gosh, I can't look at my speed.
See, I don't think that's erratic
I
behavior.
gotta
I'm
clarify
telling
again,
you,
'cause
I
people
like
are like,
that.
oh my gosh, it's warning you so much. For the videos, I'm always looking at the screen, trying to comment on stuff, so that's why I get so many warnings. My normal driving, I don't get warned so much.
Yeah, it's going way too fast right now.
It's pretty fast.
I was hoping that would be fixed.
Yeah, the speed control seems really erratic. Like sometimes it goes way over, sometimes it goes way under. Blinking yellow and
Nice.
yeah, we take it. Great.
Great. That was great. No, I'm very relaxed.
Awesome. Good. It's good to hear. And then, all right, speed control. It keeps doing this though. I mean, it's done this several times this drive already, where it's speeding up to the speed limit, slowing back down, and then it's now going to speed up again. It like keeps doing that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, it's an area that Tesla obviously knows that they need to improve upon. I just had a situation where I was in a 50-mile-an-hour zone. I'm on 12.3.6 still, but a 50 transitioned to a 35, and the car just stayed. It was actually running 55, so I was 20 over. So yeah, this is an area where obviously Tesla knows that they need to improve and resolve this issue. But you can see the car is operating more naturally, coming out of starting from a stop, and it's getting there. So this is exciting to see. Exciting to see this convergence, and I'm sure the Tesla team's already working on 12.5 now, and I'm looking forward to a Cybertruck release as well. So there's a lot of work ahead of this team, but you can tell they're making progress.
Did you see the part where he said that? What was he saying? That I forgot now. I just thought that it was. I like that. My own experience with the car was fantastic. I thought it was driving at the right speed, the right stuff. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah,
let's quickly look at this article from just very quickly then, James. And basically what he said is that if you look at Robotaxi, it's going to have this incredible growth rate. And he compares it to companies like other technologies like Skype, and I'm not going to go through it in big detail right now, but Google Docs, Zoom, Spotify, Airbnb, Uber, Netflix, because they had they was riding on existing infrastructure, and the core service is a direct substitute for something already in wide use. So in this case, you've got a car, automobiles, people already take it. And that the difference is that Tesla will have millions of cars already out there. When they turn it on, they will all be Robotaxi ready. And this is why he thinks that Tesla's technology will follow these other techs where this high adoption very, very quickly. What was your thoughts when you saw what he was saying?
No, I mean, it's pretty logical, and I recommend people, read the article. But this concept of scale and driving, no pun intended, but driving this large install base of kind of just these robots and waiting, where they made the cost of the technology and the cost to do this, manageable. It's probably, I estimate probably $1,200 of cost, if not less, per vehicle that they actually had to do. So they were able to absorb these cogs in and create this scale over 7 million vehicles. And now it's going to be growing a couple million more, every year. And so when they actually do flip the switch, you're going to have this significant install base, and it's not going to be in one region. It's going to be all over the world. So that does help accelerate the adoption rate, and it's a big deal. So I agree with the premise.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Appreciate this. It was fun to always go through multiple lists. Follow Jeff on his X account called the Jeff Lutz. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.